Hi all. Well, we have some exciting news about our greenhouse in the snow kit. Ever since we built this thing about 3 years ago, every time I make a video, I have this little voice in the back of my head that says, should I really be saying this? Because it's not done. And that was because we didn't have all of the blowers and the fan and all the electrical hooked up. And we finally do. And I'm realizing that little voice is still there. It hasn't gone away. So today in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 things. How we set up the blowers and the fan. How the geothermal tubes that run underground are supposed to work, and if they work. And then also the work we have yet to do. So right now I'm standing in what we call the cold room. It's kind of the entry room into the main part of the greenhouse. So behind me is the door into the greenhouse. And then in front of me is the door that goes into the main part of the greenhouse. And this is, I'm gonna call this the second blower because it's the second blower that we hooked up. So I will first go and talk about the number 1 blower that is in the main part of the greenhouse. Today is November 29th, and it is cold today. We finally got down into the single digits. I think it was 9 overnight. And now tonight, I think we're gonna get down to 5. So blower number 1 is all the way down at the west end of the greenhouse. For a year, we've only had this, what I call this is the main greenhouse. We've only had this blower set up. It is plugged into a thermostat over here. So this thermostat, and it is set for, I have it set for 48. And it's running right now because it's only 38 in here, or over on this end anyway. So in the winter, we want the thermostat to turn on when it gets below 50. So you change it so your thermostat is for a heating setting. And for the longest time, for a year, actually maybe longer than that, we had 2 thermostats set up on this blower, so that there was like a summertime thermostat and a wintertime thermostat. And it's fine when it's, the dead of summer or the dead of winter. You could just leave one thermostat plugged in and use that setting, because in the winter, it's not likely to get above 80, 85 in here. And even if it does, I don't care. I want to keep that heat in here. I don't want to cool the greenhouse, even if it is 85, 90 in here. So I just leave the winter thermostat plugged in so that it comes on when it gets too cold. Same goes for the summer. I don't care if it gets below 50 in here, which it doesn't. I only want to cool it in the summer when it gets above 85. It gets trickier in the shoulder season, so spring and fall, when you can have some days that are 110 in here, but 40 degrees in here. So we struggled a little bit with the thermostats. I don't know if there's other thermostats we could possibly get that control, that have both a heating setting and a cooling setting at the same time. I haven't really looked into it. I have a feeling there is. So it's been fun figuring out the thermostats. Now we just have the winter thermostat set up on this blower. One of the other issues that we ran into setting up this blower is that, so you see it's covered with a box, and what's under here are 12 tubes. So there's 12 tubes that just come up out of the ground. So they come from down under here, and they come up, and they end here at the bottom of this box. And then this blower sits down on top of it. So you've got this blower sitting down on top of these tubes, blowing a lot of air, and it's really hard to direct all that air to go straight down into the tubes. It kind of wants to blow out all over through all the cracks and crevices. So you'll see Joel has kind of sealed up this box with some caulk. And the other thing we did was to raise the blower. At first we just had the blower sitting down on the top of the tubes, and then the air blew out everywhere. We weren't getting as much air down into the tubes. So once we raised the blower up a little bit, and I don't remember exactly how far we raised it up, but you'll see that the corner of the box over there, we could only go so far as it would run into the north wall. So we went as high as we could, and that seemed to be doing the trick, getting the majority of the air pushed down into the tubes instead of spraying all out around the box. All right, so I'm back in the cold room, in the little entrance room here. Joel is, I can't see him up there, spray foaming down in the corner. And it's getting kind of dark out here. I'd hoped he could join me in the video, but we're just gonna get this done. So this is blower number 2, and this one works opposite of what the main greenhouse blower works. This one is also sitting on top of, what did we say, 8 tubes?
8 tubes, yeah.
8 tubes that are 80 feet long, and they just run outside of the greenhouse and come out in the ground somewhere. They're down 8 feet. So the tubes go straight down from this blower 8 feet out the greenhouse for 80 feet. And how it works is this blower is sucking air through the tubes, and that air comes up to this squirrel cage blower, and then it pushes it out into this room. And right now, or I should say over the past week, it's been consistently 47-degree air that it is pushing into this cold room. I don't think we had any issues setting up we didn't really run into any issues setting up this blower. But we did learn something about the greenhouse once we turned it on finally. It was our understanding, or our misunderstanding, that the main part of the greenhouse was a closed loop system. So the blower over there sucks air from all along the greenhouse down into the ground, warms it up, brings it back up inside the greenhouse. And we just thought that was a closed loop. We kind of even wondered why we needed this second blower. Well, once we turned it on, we realized that it was filling this cold room up with 47-degree air. And we're like, why do we need all this 47-degree air in the cold room? So, and you know that big 30-inch fan we've had hanging inside the main part of the greenhouse, just kind of circulating air? Well, we realized after turning this second blower on that that fan had to be cut into the wall. So that fan is now up there, and it's actually, there's a hole cut in the middle wall here, so that the air that's in here being warmed to 47 gets sucked from here into the main part of the greenhouse and blown all the way down. That's how it's supposed to work.
That's the full closed loop.
That's the full closed loop. But it took us a long time to figure that out. So after installing the big fan, it wasn't staying at 47 degrees in here. It was colder. And so this is where I say this greenhouse will never be finished, because you will install one thing, change something, complete something, and it will create a whole new project. So the fan is so strong that it sucks outside air, like just from cracks around the door or cracks around that window up there. it sucks the cold air in through those cracks because it's so strong. It's not just taking the warmed air from the blower, it's sucking it in from all around us outside. So that's what we're doing today, is spray foaming all of those cracks that are letting the cold air come in. Because it was literally like, I think it got down to 38 in here after we started running the big fan. And I was driving home one day and I'm like, why is it so much colder now that I have the fan running? And I came in here and I'm like, I gotta shut that fan off. And I shut it off, and an hour later it was 2 degrees warmer. So when we shut the fan off, that kind of made it so all the air that was being pumped into this room, the 47-degree air, couldn't get into the greenhouse. So we actually have a storm door in the main part of the greenhouse. See, it's getting so dark out here, my flash is turning on. So this storm door has a screen in it. I've just been keeping that open, and it seems to be working well enough. We have a smaller fan in the greenhouse that I hope is sucking some air from in here all the way down the length of it. Although I can tell the condensation in there is starting to create a little bit of mold in some of the soil, but we're working on it. That's yet another thing that you will always be working on something with a greenhouse in the snow kit. It's the eternal science project. You're gonna get spray foam all over that flannel. That's a nice one, isn't it? Or is that one of your old ones?
I think this is the older one.
Oh, okay.
I think. I know there's one. Maybe this is the nicer one. I mean, I remember when I was talking to a guy from Greenhouse in the Snow, and he was saying, covering all the metal parts is a good thing, for the winter. So obviously, I think, we'll do that tomorrow.
That ridge up there?
Yeah, but I'm going to get the metal over here.
Okay. And he just said that because obviously metal is a heat conductor.
Right.
But also around that window up there.
Oh, shit.
That's really leaky.
Well.
What do you think of my idea just to put a piece of foam over it?
Well, we will after I spray it.
Okay.
Oh. That would have been bad.
Don't point it at me.
This stuff, I want to cover this metal, but I don't know if it's going to.
The metal might not be 50 degrees, huh?
Right. Doesn't look pretty. Oh, that's not bad.
We'll clean it up.
Yeah.
Looks good. I mean, it's not pretty like the
Right.
expendy stuff, but you got it on your back.
What? Oh.
I can peel it off though. What does it say it is?
Shut off. 55.
55.
56.
Nice.
And we can let that run for a little bit and then just, I guess that'll help dry this.
Yeah. Come back out here in a little bit.
Yeah.
So are we going to put a piece of foam over that?
Yeah, we'll just put a bigger piece.
So for the last part of the video, I said we were going to talk about work we have yet to do because there will always be work to do in it.
I feel like it's going to be like 8 more years before This thing is completely dialed in.
I don't know. I swear, you fix one thing or change one thing, and it creates another. You know, this greenhouse does not live in a bubble. You push here, and something else changes. So, so this is what we have yet to do. So remember when we spray foamed the main greenhouse, the north wall and the main greenhouse? We did that because we noticed that a lot of the heat was escaping through the ridge of the greenhouse.
Yep.
And we knew that was happening because it could be 85 in the bottom of the greenhouse and then be 90 at the top of the greenhouse. And we just expected it to be 110 up there.
Mm-hmm.
So we deduced that the hot air was escaping. So we spray foamed the north wall, and we already see a difference because
definitely.
It is 110 up there on a hot day, not on November 29th, but it is 110 up there, whereas it's 75 down in the bottom of the greenhouse. So that has worked.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we want to put up a tube at the top of the roof line to capture that heat in that tube. And there are fans, right, that you said we could buy?
Yeah, the little 4-inch tile, you know, that would fit right in a drain tile tube.
Right in that tube, and then blow that hot air that's going into that tube at the top of the roof line, blowing it all the way down to the end of the line, to the west end, right? And then, I don't know, I guess we have to bury it.
Yeah, so it goes...
We have to bury it
along the ridge cap and then all the way down to the ground, to the bottom of the greenhouse.
Right.
But then I know some people have rocks down there. I mean, I guess we could put it in the rock wall somehow.
Well, and that's, but that's already established. That's already there. So, I mean, and it doesn't have to be deep, that we have to bury it very deep into the ground or into the floor. But we have the space to do it. So I think we just go down 6 inches, and so we have that tile up at the roof. It comes down, and then it is buried into the ground, 6 inches deep, and
it just recycles
that heat.
Yeah. We are really pleasantly surprised at how much less condensation there is in there. Winter is the worst time for condensation. And that is a benefit of the spray foam. So we're already noticing that has improved as well.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, bro.
So no, it will probably never be finished. We'll always be improving on something. But I have come to have some peace with it. For the longest time, it was bothering me so much that we didn't have the blowers and the fan and all the electrical done, and just felt like...
It really shouldn't be called a greenhouse. You should just call it the beast.
The beast. But we have... So I have a little bit of data about the temperatures that have been happening in there. So we are getting down into single digits now at night. And for several hours at night. It's not just for like an hour in the morning. We're getting down to 5 degrees tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We got down to 9 degrees last night from about 3 a.m. to 6 a.m.
You're talking outdoor temperature.
Right, outside temperature.
You gotta be...
Fahrenheit. We were 9 degrees Fahrenheit from about 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. today.
What was it inside?
It did not get down below 35. So that's awesome.
That's huge.
Huge. For days where, you know, the sun comes up at 7:30 and it goes down at 4:30.
Right.
So we are not getting many hours of daylight. And actually, we have not hit the shortest day of the year yet even. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, this blower, I just keep going back to this. The blower in the cold room is just key.
Yeah.
Essential to this greenhouse. And I wish we would have known that from the beginning.
We kind of thought, what do we need it for?
Right.
Just to have a comfortable, workspace in there.
Right. I mean, just how excited we are with this thing, with the cold room temps, like being high. Like, this is amazing. This is
works.
It's like it works.
Yeah.
Did you say something about that? The closed loop is not just in the greenhouse; it's the cold room.
Yeah, it starts there.
Makes the loop. I'm sorry.
Right. It's a closed loop that includes the cold room.
Yeah.
We misunderstood that.
I mean,
so that the 47-degree air coming in to the cold room gets pushed into the greenhouse and then pushed down in the 250-foot tubes and comes back up into the main greenhouse, hopefully warmer than 47 degrees.
Right.
Yeah, that's the loop. What a relief. It works. For the longest time, because you don't really see a lot of air come out of the tubes. Like, there's a little bit of movement. We put the plastic grocery bags that...
little strips of it.
Yeah, just kind of held it above the tubes coming into the greenhouse, the main greenhouse. And you saw a little bit of flutter. But for the longest time, I thought, oh my gosh, these tubes are just full of water. There's no air moving through these tubes.
But the air is real. The 50-degree temperature from the tubes for the cold room, it's really working. Yeah. That 50-degree temp is really coming in to the cold room.
It's only coming at 47 for us.
Right.
But that could just be where the thermometer is set, is a few degrees colder there. I don't know, but
it's like a jumping for joy.
Yeah.
Moment. This is,
it's
working. It's really working. And if we would have known that from the beginning, that the cold room blower was the main driver to this thing.
Yeah. And we might have figured this out a year ago.
Yeah.
You might all be wondering, why did it take us so long to get this far? And if you're new here, we decided to build our house and a greenhouse
at the same time,
and sheds and start animals all at the same time. So it just took a lot longer than we wanted, but so grateful. This was my Thanksgiving thankfulness prayer at the Thanksgiving dinner table was, what's something everybody's thankful for? And I was
the cold room blowers,
the greenhouse
are working the way they are supposed to work. And we didn't know that 2 weeks ago when we set it all up.
Right. We've been kind of messing with it now for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just keeping track of temperatures. So yeah, super exciting. So thank you so much for joining us on this journey. I hope you're as excited as we are.
Oh, what's growing in there right now?
Oh, I did take a little video. There's tomatoes. Oh my gosh, I have so much.
You literally just picked a zucchini today.
Yep, I picked a zucchini and some tomatoes today. Cucumbers there's still some in there. Broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage. And I'm thinking those things, if I can just get them through the coldest part of the winter to where we have some longer days, that maybe I'll be able to get those very early spring.
Which is going to be kind of fun to watch. But they're not dead. They are completely alive.
Yeah, they look great.
They look amazing.
They just kind of look like they're on pause.
Yeah. So you just keep them watered and...
Yeah, and you don't really have to do a ton of watering in there in the winter because there is condensation.
Right.
So the soil stays pretty wet. So.
But...
Oh, and beets. And rutabagas.
So if they can make it
And
through,
oranges. I have oranges going in
like
there.
this stuff just makes it through the coldest part. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it starts warming.
Yeah.
A
Well,
little
once
bit.
the days get longer,
The
it
days
doesn't
get
have to
long-
warm so
Oh,
much,
right,
but the
right,
day
right.
we need a little more light hours.
And then all of a sudden they'll just start growing again.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
To where you're not having to work so much.
Yeah.
But it's staying alive. Like these vegetables are staying alive.
Right.
That is so cool. I never really thought of it that way. Like this stuff is...
Welcome to the show.
Well, just like it's suspended. Like if you can keep things like...
Right. Yeah, that's exactly...
You don't do that in gardening.
Well, not in northern Minnesota.
Right. And so that is what is so neat about this, learning this
Yeah.
process is...
Yeah. Those lettuces I planted in there too a couple weeks ago look great. Those are actually growing a little bit. They're in the rock wall, and I kind of wonder if they get a little more heat, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, they probably don't get any more light down there.
Did you show my buckets of water?
Yeah, in another video I did.
Oh.
Joel has
Thermal mass. I've tried to...
black
tried to
bins that you filled with water, and then we put them in the north wall because that's where the sun will hit, is the north wall this time of year. Yeah, no, I think that the rock wall and the spray foam are going to make a huge difference in there this winter.
Yeah, maybe next year we'll add some sort of wood stove, or I don't know. Who
You
knows?
heard it.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Okay, fine.
Well, thanks for watching. If you're new here, we hope you'll subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.